Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Upbeat and coming right at you, the Speak Your Mind Show. I'm here going to be dialoguing with you on a number of issues in the territory. I have my guest here with me, John Lewis, and we're going to be putting some information out there, and we're going to dialogue with you as to, what's happening in the territory from Anegada all the way to Joshua Dyke. We hope that you would interact with us as well. The show is really the people's show, and we would hope that this is a forum where persons in our society understand their rights, understand that the 2007 Constitution is the most or the highest law in the land, and that law gives us the right to freedom of expression and a number of other freedoms that I am one of those people who advocate that if you don't exercise your freedom, you probably don't have it, or it probably will be taken away from you in some point in your life. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Speak Your Mind Show is here, is live, and it's a live show, by the way, so you can call or text us at any time. We're here for you, for the people of the territory. We're going to touch on a number of topics, like I said. So, John, do you want to say anything in the opening remarks?
Yes, Richard, it's good to be here.
Good to be back, yeah.
And last week we had Christmas on Main Street.
That's true.
And there was quite a stir about it because it wasn't on Main Street. Mm-hmm. It was on the Castro Street. Mm-hmm. And so the question is going to be asked if there's going to be a new location, which I understand that will be the location for a while.
Every time I hear some reference to that, right, I always like to put it in perspective. Lindy De Castro, Rasta Huro. Okay. That is the De Castro person who is being remembered by the naming of that street. And I think
that we probably need to change the name from Christmas on Main Street to Christmas on De Castro Street.
Yeah, I think that's what they usually say. They said Christmas on De Castro Street. But I was just making the historical reference, since it seems like we have to do that time and time again for all citizens, for all people to, start using the references in context and more.
Okay.
More and more, yeah.
Okay, so we've taken care of that, and I hope that if there are people out there who would like to weigh in on the matter, please feel free to call us at 300-1949, or you can send us a text at 300-1950. Mm-hmm. Now, I was driving from East End into town today, and I used the Ridge Road. Mm-hmm. And there's sections of that road which are in terrible state. And I'm hoping that for 2017, I know the Premier has talked about making sure that things are better for us. But it would be good if that road between Hope and the intersection of Bellevue and
going on to Long Trench.
Long Trench.
Yes.
Is remedied. It's been like that now for too long.
Yeah. From at least from around September.
No, more than September. It's been like that for more than a year.
For more than a year, okay.
And I'm not sure how much effort it will take to just complete the section that need to be filled in.
Some of the area just needs being backfilled, so that the roadway meets the wall. I'm familiar with what you're talking about.
So I'm hoping that road between Hope and Bellevue will be fixed, and if it can be done during this week, as we're going to the holiday period, you have the next 2 weeks, or it will be so wonderful. And then there is.
But they're also building a retaining wall in the Hope area.
Yes, but I'm not talking about that area. I'm talking about on the other side, the southern side of the road.
On the left hand side, coming to town.
Coming into town.
Yes, okay, I agree with you. But also, someone mentioned to me as well that we're doing work on the Ridge, which is an alternate road, and we're also doing work in the Paraquita Bay area as well, which you don't
make life very difficult.
You don't really have a choice.
But that's pretty much under control now. Okay. we've gotten to the worst part. But what intrigues me is that we have technology that we could have employed that would not have disrupted the traffic flow as badly as we've had it over the last month. And we're doing the same thing down from
Fort Bard Point.
Fort Bud Point
Down to Slaney.
To Slaney.
Yes.
And certainly, when the sewage line was taken from in Road Town to the plant, we didn't have that kind of interruption. And I can't see any reason why we have to go through this archaic method of digging up the road where we could have used new technology to do the works and do it more effectively and more economically. So I'm hoping that our government will just take the effort to do the things right. And if people complain, then yes, we have to be a little heavy-handed sometimes and tell our contractors that this is how we, the government, would like to have it done. If you don't have the technology, consult with those who have, form alliances and get those people to make the technology available to us. But we certainly can't continue to disrupt everybody's lives as badly as we have.
Well, I think you're making reference to the horizontal directional drilling,
Yes.
which is something that I agree to, that maybe at this stage in the game, we have to look at some creative ways of including all contractors. And hear me out on this, John.
Okay.
I think that it is always possible to make a project a way so that local contractors can benefit from it. I know, for example, one time when we were doing a project here, and it was a CDB project, and the contractor did not have the heavy equipment to move the rocks. We're talking about 5, 10-ton rocks. And CDB put the equipment in the contract. So at the end of the day, the equipment became the contractor's equipment. But it was all included in the loan,
Right.
which the government signed. Okay? So these things can be done.
Yeah.
Okay? I like to applaud one of our contractors that I see right now who went by water, was welding those PVC pipes. That was being done by some people that were brought in. Now we have a contractor who is doing it on site.
Yes, on site.
And that, to me,
That's
that is,
exactly my point.
that is what I call transfer of technology.
That's exactly my point. Let's not be bent out of shape with using old methods when new methods can be employed.
But I still want to stick to my point, though, John, that we
I
have
agree.
to we have to include more local contractors in the actual work.
process.
In the actual work.
in the process.
Even
Okay.
even if it takes a transfer of technology,
Fine. Fine.
and even if it takes a project to get it done.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So you
You
know.
sound like somebody that I know. Anyhow,
But that is that, you know. And,
that
and,
is
and,
the way
and,
it is.
And traffic, ladies and gentlemen, please be mindful of the workers that are working, and also remember that you should always cut your speed, slow down in a construction area. A lot of times you have a lot of persons working; they have their backs turned to the vehicles. So we don't want any other casualties or any other difficulties more than what the situation has in itself. So.
I will admit, though, that on the road between Brandywine and Parakeeta, they did have men who were there controlling the traffic. They were properly dressed,
Yeah.
but there were some of us who just couldn't wait.
Yes. I saw a number of people turn back, and as they turned back, the traffic went.
Yes,
So that happens.
that happens.
You know, that
but
happens.
we just have to be mindful that these things will be happening.
Yeah.
Okay, Richard, we have had one interesting activity this week. The opening of the prison museum on Main Street.
I mean, yes.
And it's been a long time in coming. And you and I would probably remember when it used to be the place to be at,
Right.
because you went there, you played table tennis, you
Yes.
played cards, and you interacted with the officers. Because at the time,
The canteen for the
For the-
prison was
Well-
in. Sorry, for the the police station was inside of the prison.
Yes.
Yes, and some of the barracks were upstairs for the police officers. And a number of historic things happened in that prison. And I am a bit mindful that we're only talking about the military or the garrison side of the history.
But there was a civilian side also.
There was a civilian side, and there was also some of our heroes were incarcerated right there in that prison.
Yes, like Noel Lloyd.
Noel Lloyd,
Rasahuru
was in cell 5. And
Yes.
and of course there's a man that I knew, Campbell, that got hung in there, and I think he was the last person to get hung in that prison.
Okay.
And you know, at the time I was one of those persons standing outside when they came outside and they said that
He's
you know,
dead.
he's dead. So you know, it was not like
A public affair,
no.
but it happened.
But it happened, and it's a part of our history. And to not recognize those kind of pivotal events. And I know Noel Lloyd break out of that jail about either two or three times.
Yes.
Okay? So, you know, these things are not, you know, things that you can
Just brush aside.
brush aside. These are events that happen.
that happened.
You know.
And I think it is fitting for us to just pay some tribute to Hugh Whistler. Hugh was also instrumental in maintaining that we kept the old government house,
Okay.
the old governor's house,
Okay.
because there were those of us who felt that we should destroy it. And he said, you don't destroy your history, you maintain it. And
Well,
the
John.
family of Hugh Whistler should be proud of the contribution he's made to it.
Yeah. Well, you're hitting on directly in my area. You know, as an architect, historical preservation is a serious part of our profession.
And I think it's time we began looking seriously at what I would call historic zones.
Yeah.
Pay special attention to Main Street as the historic zone in Rural Town, and try and maintain the architectural style. And I suspect that some of what should happen does not happen because there are no incentives.
I hear you, and I think we have to pay special attention to how we look at that, because I've seen a few of them that, in my opinion, went wrong, where we're looking at history specifically through a colonialist lens.
But it doesn't really matter which lens you look at it. It's history.
no.
It's our story.
Yeah, it's our story, right? But you can't only pay attention to one part of it. That's what I'm saying. In
Okay.
other words, the cannonballs and the cannon and all that stuff is fine, but there are other things that happen as well.
Okay, fine.
And we need to pay equal
Attention
to all of it.
We need to have more markers along the way.
I am one of those people who are ready to take those names like Sir Francis Drake and all the rest of them and take them down. I mean, no, I'm serious. We have heroes and sheroes in our community who did much more for this place.
All right, that's something that we can talk about
yeah.
for next year.
Oh yeah, but I mean, it is you know, it is something that I think we're all toying with in the Caribbean. It's not just here.
Okay.
In a number of other Caribbean countries, a number of persons are saying, you know, let us not repeat the lie. You know,
Okay.
let us move on. Some of us are educated.
Let us
people.
make all. I mean, in the U.S. Virgin Islands, for example,
They have Nelson Mandela Square.
and there are historic zones.
Of course.
And you have to comply with
Of
paint
course.
colors.
But that's what I was
you can't-
referring to. Though. I was saying if you don't put the framework in place properly, then things can go wrong.
Go wrong.
Okay?
And I think this is something that we need to talk about and,
I think so, yeah.
and encourage.
Yeah.
Now,
But
there's
before we jump off of it, though, right? I saw one person blog about the black mannequins, and I think I tend to agree with that person that we have to be careful how we are portraying race in this community, because if you go back to that constitution that I was talking about, it protects all citizens
Right.
of all race, color, creed, religion.
it's a work in progress, and let's hope that
But I think
observation gets corrected.
I think we have to be very careful when we're dealing with those things, not to portray one race more than another,
Okay.
negatively or positively.
It should be balanced.
It should be balanced as much as possible, I
Okay.
think. I'll give you a reference. Arthur Hodge is one of those people that was in that
Hung
prison.
In that prison.
Okay.
And he was a white
And he was
plantation owner.
He was a white plantation owner. I don't see no images of him in there.
Or anything that slightly
Or
resembles him.
anything that slightly resembles him. You know? So we have to be, I don't want to say politically correct, but culturally correct.
Correct. Okay. Historically,
Historically, culturally correct. And,
Okay.
and politically.
point taken.
All right. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we got a couple of texts. Let's see what the people are saying to us here, John, as far as texts are concerned. It says, good night, gentlemen. Seasoned greetings to you and yours, and keep up the good works in keeping the Virgin Island audience abreast with that more lives have to be lost before the appropriate authorities see the need to fix it. I guess maybe they're talking about the roads.
Okay.
Would like to know why, after 2 lives have been lost from a recent accident in Savannah Bay and Virgin Gorda, that the railings are, I guess, are still not up. Right?
It's still not up.
Yeah, are still the same way. What can we do to get our civil service to work better? Good night, season greetings. Just because government increased the wages to a 6-hour rent gone up. Well, that is one of the
Those
things.
are some of the things we talked about.
We talked about
Cost,
those things.
push inflation.
Gouging is a serious thing that happens in a number
Okay,
of
Richard.
societies.
We will take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the National Development Bank
Okay.
and a number of other things that seem to be rearing their heads in the community. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll have more. Thank you.
Police have gone right at the last left turn, you know.
Bridget, the directions I got to go straight.
Oh, you go and tell me about them stupid directions when the map is right here.
Let me see the map. Let me see the map,
So
man.
now you want to see the map.
Give me the map, man.
Alright.
No, we passed there, so already.
Oh.
Make a right, go 100 meters, and that's the destination.
Having Digicel data is like having the fastest man in the world save you from getting lost. Start using Digicel data today. Digicel.
Hi there, welcome to Botanic Service Station, your #1 Soul gas fill-ups in the British Virgin Islands. Try our delicious hot wings or pizza with your favorite toppings, made fresh every day. Try it, I know you will love it.
Need a cold drink? We have the widest variety, the cheapest and coldest in town.
Just a friendly reminder, we have a wide range of vehicle maintenance products.
Oils, coolant, batteries, air fresheners, and our #1 product, Soul Gas. The best gasoline that will take you further and keep your engine running cleaner. Do you love to cook? We have your LPG right here for your convenience. Open from 7 a.m. to 11 o'clock p.m. Chances are you'll be stopping by the Botanic Service Station today. So just grab a cold drink while you're there.
Alts Marine Air Conditioning and Refrigeration specializing in servicing and repairing units such as Daikin, Marine Air Tech, Mitsubishi, TGM, York. Any type that you call, we can install. We also work on commercial and residential units in houses, boats, cars, and company buildings. If you even need some cool breeze for your doghouse or horse stable, we will not hesitate. We are always able. No job is too big or too small for Al's Marine Limited. For our home and restaurant customers, we also service and install all your appliances such as ovens, stoves, washers, dryers, refrigerators, and freezers. You can contact us at 494-4529 or 340-3791 or email us alsmarine@surfbvi.com. Alsmarine is located in Purcell Estate Road, Town, Tortola. Alsmarine Limited, your number one choice.
And what kind of party this?
Them they bring the music.
Seriously?
Having Digicel data is like having the fastest man in the world save you from party disasters. Start using Digicel data today. Digicel.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with you just after a short break. We were having a good discussion there online with some text messages that came in. I'm sure from Virgin Gorda, talking about the Savannah Bay area where we had the two fatalities, and the suggestion is well taken, and I support it as well. We need to look at crucial areas like where that happened. Although it's too late now to correct what happened, but guardrails, yes, guardrails. I think we have to look at some areas throughout the territory, not just in Virgin Gorda. I know of a couple of other areas myself, and from time to time, you know, encourage our government to look at road safety in a more proactive way, not after an incident, but as a deterrent. John, as a deterrent.
Our lives are important.
Yes.
And if we can do anything to save lives and protect lives and property, then we ought to. It occurred to me that there are some rails which could be further enhanced if we use tension wires on the back of the rails, so that when a vehicle hits it, because there is tension on either side of the rail, instead of the rail falling over.
But very unlikely that those rails will fall over there, you know. They're pretty much concreted in the ground.
Yeah, but
the idea is that the rail should be at the correct height.
Right.
So that it interacts with the bumper of the vehicle and it slides it along until it stops. You know, friction works. I mean, physics 101.
Oh, okay.
But the thing is, if you don't have any rail, and the cliff is there. Cliff for you.
Okay. Say one, say two.
Okay.
I think there are some of us as drivers who are extremely reckless.
That is true too.
I think we ought to be mindful of the fact that those of us who know Savannah Bay, that area coming from Mount
I know the area. I know the area.
Not because you think you're a good driver that you should be speeding.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. There's some other inexpensive things that I've seen in highway safety as well. Things like they have big containers of sand and big containers of water, where, you know, once you hit it, it will just explode. But at the same time, it will stop you to some extent.
And then there are some markers that you can put on the edge of the road as you drive over them.
As you drive over them.
That it tells you.
It tells you that
you're on the edge of the road.
You're beginning to become a problem to yourself.
Yeah.
There are all those things that are.
Okay.
You know, that are deterrents from bad driving. I've been in a situation like that already when I hear my tires going boom, 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 and I know I'm going off of the road.
Yes.
I have to correct my action.
Yes.
We need to really look a little bit more at safety.
These are relatively simple things that we can do.
Inexpensive. I like to use that word. Inexpensive.
Inexpensive things that we can do.
Cat eyes. Cat eyes also very...
Just put them close to each other.
Ladies and gentlemen, when we're talking about cat eyes, we're talking about the reflectors that are placed on the road to mark the area of the road where you can safely use to drive on. And the car lights it up at night, so it acts like a reflector and give you guidance while on the road. It's true we have some roads that don't have any lights. That's another problem.
That's true. But
right? I think the road we're talking about has absolutely no lights.
Okay.
For a good section of that road is they don't have any lights. It's true we are developing and we're getting
it's
there.
It's a work in progress.
It's a work in process.
But the inexpensive things
can be done now.
Can be done.
Just in the name of safety.
Safety.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And I'm piggybacking from the headlines of the National Development Bank.
Okay.
Where it's really working hard to reduce its delinquent loans. Mm-hmm. And, you know, some people may laugh at it, mm-hmm. and some people may wonder why the headlines. But let us forget the headlines for the moment. Mm-hmm. If you have a bank that has 18% of its liquidity mm-hmm. as bad debt, mm-hmm. we're in trouble.
Yeah.
And our national bank is our bank, and I think we need to protect it mm-hmm. and do what is necessary to make sure mm-hmm. that remains a healthy, viable option.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one take on it, John. I think another take is that we have to look at refinancing in the territory as a whole, because I have heard stories. I've heard persons come to me and tell me stories that are really negative stories, not just the development bank, but other institutions in the territory as well. Refinancing is a way of taking a second or a third look at your mortgage, mm-hmm. where you have put in a certain amount. The loan was for a certain number of years. Obviously, the situation is not the same. Okay?
True.
In some instances, the person might have already paid 3/4
of that loan.
And
the asset is there.
And the asset is there.
At a higher value.
At a much higher value. And they're still refusing to renegotiate the loans. And in some cases, it's medical, It's medical. The person is trying to get medical help.
That is why it's so important for us to make sure that we have a healthy national
institution.
Development bank.
No, the institution has to be healthy.
No, this particular one. Because mm-hmm. if those controlled by the outside powers mm-hmm. don't help you, mm-hmm. we ought to have one
that will help us.
That could help us.
That could help us.
So that's
point very much taken.
That's the argument that I would make.
Yes, but at the same time, I think in a more general view, we have to start looking at these institutions and ensure that they're doing by our people the right things.
That works if you have a healthy national bank mm-hmm. that sets monetary policy.
Yes.
If we have a healthy national bank that can be made to work with government to set and determine monetary policy, these other banks will fall in line. But we don't have the mechanism to do that yet. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping that with time, for example, all of government's payroll mm-hmm. can be made at the national bank. And if you had that level of liquidity coming from government into your national bank is in a better position.
The bank would have better leverage.
Exactly.
That's true. It would have much better leverage. Well, I think it all will work together, and maybe in these hard times, I'm going to put it out there as hard times. In these hard times, now is a good time to look at all
now
of these
is a
things.
good time for us to look at what we will be doing with our national
policies. Of course.
And all governments need to be mm-hmm. open and receptive.
And transparent.
Of course. Your favorite word.
Yeah.
To what we, the public, say.
Yeah.
And don't think that because we may say something, we're necessarily beating on government.
Yeah.
It is just a means by which government can be made to listen to a different point of view.
No, I definitely take your point that we need to look at some hard financial decisions as far as policy is concerned, and stick to them.
Yes.
You know, and stick to them. I always like to make joke about the depression, the Great Depression in the 30s. Some of the best musicals were developed at that time.
And some of the best engineering came out of it. For example, the United States, the national road system came out of that.
Yeah. Okay, but because there was no money and there was a lot of
People
unemployment.
became more
Became more creative and more efficient.
Efficient.
You see?
Okay.
And so maybe there were some great musicals that were developed during that
Okay,
time.
so that's the good part of it.
That's a good
the other
pattern
thing
to
that I
follow.
think we need to have a review on, and I'm hoping that next year the powers that be will come and tell us what is happening with the NHI, National Health Insurance, after 1 year.
Yeah.
Is it alive? Is it healthy? Are people benefiting? Are there changes that we need to make? Because there are others who are looking at what we are doing and trying to determine whether this is a system that they should try in their own countries. So, there it is.
Yeah. Well, I think you're onto something, because it's something I was thinking about. I was thinking that it's time that the citizens of this country get a chance to look at the actual study that was done.
Actuarial studies?
Yes, because that study is what was used to design the system. Okay? That study would have said things like the number of persons you have, the cost of health care, where the care is available, how many clinics we have, what are the function of the clinic. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on.
But I'm told from reliable sources that part of the problem is that employers are not making their contribution.
But let me ask you something, John. Did we know this before we started the NHI? Did we know that persons didn't used to pay Social Security? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
So I don't buy that.
But when people approach me, I would say to them, it is your responsibility to check on your status. Go to the NHI office and find out.
Security.
Or Social Security.
You should also check on your Social Security.
Don't wait until you have a problem to find out. Maybe every month you go and you check.
But
if
you
did,
I'm gonna play the other side with you right now, though. If you did and you find out, what can you do? You can't do anything.
But it is better to know within a month than to wait until 6 months.
Yeah, but according to the release that I saw on Friday, they're going to you're not going to be able to get the service if your employer has not been paying in.
True.
Okay, so you're already double jeopardy.
Yeah.
So
but if your employer knows that you, the employee, are checking, if your employees are checking on their contribution, the employer will probably change his ways. Okay. One other thing that's of interest, Richard, is Festival 2016, and what are we doing? What can we look forward to for Festival of 2017? We should have had a report on the outcome of 2016 by now. If we're having one next year, we should be planning at this point in time.
Well, for the Virgin Island one, we should be way in advanced stages.
We should know who the chairpersons are.
Yeah. We should be well in the advanced stages. That's what I think. I think it takes at least 8 to 10 months to plan properly if you're going to put on a festival.
And if we are into hard times,
the financing of it should be discussed at that stage.
How is it going to be done?
How is it going to be financed?
Do we need to cut back on some of the...
Do we need to start fundraising?
Do we need to privatize the whole activity?
You know, it's a lot of questions, but hard questions need answering early.
Hard answers.
And they need answering early.
Early.
Yeah, because globe trotting is a hard thing. really, really difficult thing to do.
Well, if you really wanted to experience different festivals, then there's the Crucian Festival that's
Yes.
on there now.
Yeah.
And then there is the Carnival in St. Kitts Nevis
Yeah.
that's ongoing. Okay, we will take a break.
Yes.
And when we come back, we'll talk about the search for the new president of HLSCC. If you know of anything that we should know of, whether it is not happening, whether we have people
It's
who
happening.
are interested. And then we can also talk about some of the things we as a community did for others, like the Hurricane Matthew and the help we provided for Haiti and the Bahamas.
Okay.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Place spaghetti in boiling water, add tomatoes, sweet peppers, and onions, and presto, you have spaghetti marinara.
Having Digicel data is like having the fastest man in the world save you from last-minute dinner dilemmas. Start using Digicel data today. Digicel.
Tired of your home looking dull and boring? Looking for a different look for your home? Check out our new addition at Blinds and Things BVI Home Goods. We carry exquisite items for the bedroom, beautiful comforters, flat-free pillows, deep pocket sheets in a rainbow of colors, bathroom, no-slip and non-stick rugs, shower curtains and the hooks to carry. Choose from a wide selection of dishes to brighten up the kitchen. At Blinds and Things BVI Home Goods, you will find new arrivals awaiting you, exquisite items to choose from. Decorate your house with unique pieces from Blinds and Things BVI Home Goods. Visit our showroom located at 35 Skelton Bay Lot, Fish Bay. You can contact us by email blindsvi@hotmail.com or call us 284-494-1331.
Here in the Virgin Islands, we are blessed to live and work in paradise. Paradise just doesn't mean our tranquil blue waters and green hills. National Bank of the Virgin Islands defines paradise as any place or condition that fulfills your aspirations.
To me, paradise means knowing that I will have a financing partner when I'm ready to open my first business.
I feel confident that I can manage whatever life throws my way because I know my bank will be with me every step of the way.
That's why I choose National Bank of the Virgin Islands, the official bank of paradise.
My future's looking so bright, 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 bright. With the official bank of paradise,
National Bank of the Virgin Islands, the official bank of paradise.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with you after a short break. We promised that when we come back, John, we were going to talk about a number of things, Festival 2017, the search for the president, and some other stuff, the stuff about the hurricane. I'll tell you right now, if you go to the website, hlscc.edu.vg, you will see that a search is on right now. And I think it sounds like as if we have someone on the line. Yeah, good evening. You're free to speak your mind. Go right ahead, please. Hello?
Yeah, good night to the panel.
Good night.
And good night to your listeners.
Okay, good night.
Yeah. I have a concern that the bit of information I got since I came back into the territory. And the funny thing about this is that I call on the same program, explaining and sharing the same concern. This has to do with NHI. Now, it would appear to me, if I get the information right, they is planning to hold upon contribution.
Wait a minute, not planning. Except as of Friday they did it. Okay?
Okay. So the cut from Friday, all benefits stop until further notice.
As long as your employer did not pay them in. That's correct.
All right. Now, here's my big answer. Now, who are going to suffer from this?
The employee?
Exactly. Now, I have this concern, and maybe when I go into details, you will understand. I went into, as you suggest to me, I must go into them and share my concern and my ID.
Yes.
I went into NHI. I explained to them, my boss tell me bluntly, he are not going to sign up. You understand? He are not going to pay. He refused to take the money out of my pay. In that case, what do I do? I'm willing to pay. I'm not refusing to pay. They have to come up with a different way to do this because people are willing to pay. And if the boss is refusing to pay, how can we be faulted? You understand? Something needs to be done. We need to take this over.
Okay.
And not because I feel the problem here is the community is so small. Most people are related. And I feel they exploited that fact. So, if it is you have a law and people are not crying out loud, what do? You take them to court and set examples. Make examples for someone. Then you will get the rest to follow. If you're not fulfilling your law, sticking to your law, then this problem will continue.
Did you know that you have the right to take your employer to court?
Yes, I would like to think so. But at the same time, we personally don't want to go down that road. You know what I'm saying? The rightful people in authority and who have that power should do that because when I say now I tell my boss, I go to take my boss to court. I'm okay with it. I lose my job then.
Okay, what happens if you took your contribution in and you paid on your behalf? Then it demonstrates good faith.
It still wouldn't have the employer contribution.
Or the other way is that you can pay the entire contribution if you feel that is in your best interest.
Yes, that is what I'm saying to you. I volunteered. I went into the office. I explained to who I spoke with. I said, listen, I do the max. I'm supposed to pay certain amount of money, including my boss percentage. I was willing to pay the whole contribution.
Okay.
And the person tell me I must not do that. What I can do is put up my money so when it comes to whatever, I could have it to pay. I say, but suppose it is $3,000. Where do you want me to get that from to pay you? I said, this is what I'm saying. And if they look at it when I went in and I show other people went in with a concern, we might have never be in this position here.
The other option you do have is write a letter to the editor for the two newspapers that we do have and make sure that your concern is in writing and it's in the national interest. Then if more people would do the same thing, at some point, the powers that be may need to relook the way it is presently being done. Okay?
Yeah.
We want to thank you for calling in and voicing it. And I'm certain that somebody would have heard you, and a year will soon be gone with this program, and maybe it's time for us to demand a review of the NHI and just let us make sure that government does its part in ensuring that the employer pays his contribution, because it's a law. And every employer is bound by law to do exactly as the law says. So thanks, and I hope you have a good Christmas.
All right. Thanks to both of you and your listeners.
All right. Thanks, Guy. It's a difficult situation.
Yes.
I must admit that it's a very difficult situation. And it has... Let's see, one of the texts that came out. Is festival going to pay before Christmas? Somebody needs to come out and say something.
What's happening?
Well, another text that came in was the same text. Is festival going to pay before Christmas?
Well, based on what the Premier said, that all vendors should be paid before the end of the year. I can't vouch for any of this happening, but that's what the Premier said.
Well, I think that unfortunately we didn't get any figures, any figures in the state of the territory. I mean, I would have liked to hear actual figures.
Yes, but the Premier did promise that those figures will be forthcoming next year.
Next year?
Next year. Before we took that telephone call,
yes,
we were talking about the HLSCC.
Oh, yes, I was saying that at the H. Laverty Stowe Community College website, if you go to the website www.hlscc.edu.vg, you would see that there edu.vg. Yes, there's information up there about the search for president. So it's an ongoing situation.
Do they publish the ongoing traction on the search?
No, they don't. No, there's no ongoing thing.
Is there a deadline for when
yes,
we're supposed to have?
The information is up there.
Okay.
The information is up there.
All right. Mm-hmm. Now, in our little community, we have done some good things in spite of.
Yes.
And yes, we have not had any hurricanes that would have interrupted our lives, but the Haitians did.
Let's say major disaster, because we know now that it's a number of things that happen.
Yes.
It's earthquake, hurricane, tsunami. It's a number of disasters.
And one of the things that the Rotary clubs clearly pointed out that it was not doing, or we were not doing, is collecting food and clothing to be shipped to Haiti, because in 2010, two things happened. A lot of the stuff got spoiled, and the people who were to benefit never did. It was easier and more meaningful for us to collect money and send it to Rotarians who could then best determine its distribution and application. I know somebody's been asking how can it be done, and I try to point out the difficulties, because anything that goes on tropical shipping to Miami has to be inspected.
Yes.
And the customs people don't want to open all of these containers and pull them and repack them to be transshipped. So that was part of the problem.
Also, there was the logistics of the ground transportation.
Once you got to Haiti.
Once you got, and the medical personnel, and trying to, position medical personnel early, because you had a lot of amputations and a number of other challenges. So, it may be difficult to still explain how the money was used quickly. The quickly part is what I'm concerned with. I remember at one point.
In our case, the Rotarians.
I remember at one point it was small bills.
Yes.
You had to send real small bills early, because that was what was needed at the time.
Okay. In our case, we sent the money directly to
the Rotarians.
District Governor
Yes.
elect, who is a Haitian, and they were able to have it distributed. Not distributed, but they were able to buy the supplies necessary.
Yeah, good evening. You've reached Speak Your Mind. Go right ahead, please. Good evening. You've reached Speak Your Mind. Go right ahead, please.
Hello?
Yes. Good evening.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Okay, good evening. It's nighttime.
Oh, okay, good night.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say a short word pertaining the donation and surgery I was speaking about Haiti.
Okay.
And see that people ain't getting whatever you are saying. What I was thinking, why somebody don't volunteer to go and carry the stuff or whatever, even money or so, and make sure the people get it. Because what happens most of the time, people take up donation for people and they ain't really get it. They pick and choose to give you the
Okay.
I think somebody should volunteer or send a volunteer to go there, make sure it distribute to the people that they send it to.
Okay, I want to thank you for your suggestion, but what I can promise to have done is that when we resume our programs next year, we will have a report from the district governor nominee in Haiti on how the monies that the Rotarians in the Virgin Islands
Collected.
was distributed. We cannot talk to shoes and food and blankets. We didn't do that because it was not the best way to do it. But what we do know is that the monies that we sent was sent to the Rotary Club District Relief Fund. It was either in Jamaica or in the Bahamas, and they were able to distribute it. We will have a report for you, and if you don't get it in a timely manner, please call me or call Richard and ask to be reminded that we should get this report for you. But thanks for your concern.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I just don't want to report. I just want that even not in Haiti, there are different countries that go through disasters, and the people send a lot of stuff to the country, and the people in need who ready to send for ain't get it.
We understand that.
That is very true.
That's why we are discontinuing that process, because of that same issue.
Right. So
Okay.
I think in my closing that see that somebody will go and make sure it distributes. Like I know America do that sometime when they send stuff, the people down there and see distribute.
Okay, I understand your position, and we will take that into consideration.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks very much for your call.
Now, Richard, we don't have a lot of time left tonight, but let us talk about something that's more pleasant.
Okay.
Tomorrow, you can take your children down to the Queen Elizabeth Park. There's a carol sing-off there tomorrow.
The QE2 pack.
Huh?
The QE2 pack. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, there was...
Just a second. I have a text that came in. Let's see if someone's hitting us up. Good night. The gut by Fat Hogs Bay needs to be clean. It's flooding out the residents. No one coming. It was reported. That's the gut by Fat Hogs Bay. Ladies and gentlemen, you know...
is that the one between the Seventh Adventists
and Mangrove...
Mangrove Bay, okay.
Mangrove Bakery. Yeah, I think that's that one. You know, John, we're not out in the clear. The hurricane season might have already gone, but
we're having
torrential rains, and we're having flash floods. So we can have a downpour, which will drop a lot of water, and in 5 minutes it's over. But the water doesn't run off properly if it's not.
Something tells me we're not doing something right. We're either building our culverts too small or too big. And we're not doing the correct engineering studies to determine, and I suppose it's because we have this unusual rainfall, but we need to look at the watershed and calculate the runoffs, look at...
We need to redesign some of the areas. Good evening, you've reached Speak Your Mind. Go right ahead, please. Good evening, you've reached Speak Your Mind. Go right ahead, please.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Again, yes, as we just talk about the gut and so on, quickly I just want to say, to take the road that go down by the police station from the center, by the bridge, and then cross by the post office and so on there.
Long Swamp.
Yes. When rain come, they is in a state like a flood. You have to, those on the sea have to walk in the water itself.
And water and call of water on the road with vehicles passing on it also destroys the road.
Right, and also not only when rain comes. me is on that road. It seems like the houses that is let go the water in the road, because even when you come there from down the center go down there, there's water. And even this morning when I going to work, water in the road that is not water from the rain, like a sewage tank, smells very stinky.
Okay.
And it seems like people let go the sewage water wherever to run in the street. Also, quickly, my last word, that even the vehicle, they are not conscious at all. When even they see the road, water,
they don't slow down.
They want to reach the one and they stop up the water on you. They're not slowing down.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope that our listeners are hearing you loud and clear, because that's very unfriendly and not good for the community.
Because when they're going to work, somebody have to turn back, because the people then just watching you.
Yes.
And spotting the water down upon you. They didn't care long step. They want the vehicle to get messed up.
Okay.
So they rather you to get messed up.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Okay. Thanks for your input.
All right. Good night. Yeah, that's a terrible situation in that area.
Okay, Richard, there are a couple of things that we can hope that will happen next year. We have some final decision on the airport extension project, the Prospect Reef Hotel development, and we hope that we will have the Premier's address and budget remarks early next year, so that if there are going to be hard times, that we need to know early, so that we can do whatever we have to do.
But I think a lot of residents are really concerned about this Wall Street report, that we've had a serious hit on the financial services, and where they're saying that the revenue is really down a lot. And I think the last time I was doing any kind of analysis on what was going on, I think we were somewhere around 160 million or 130 to 160 million from financial services alone. So if we are having a shortfall of any percentage of that,
that's where it's going to come from.
We would need to know early, so we can know where we need to cut back.
Not only that, but we need to find innovative ways in which we can increase productivity in one area or the other.
To compensate
for example, we should have been producing, the greenhouses should have been in operation by now. And if they are going to be, we should be training people to do some of the jobs that will be available.
Unless we're very good at globe trotting, right? It's going to be very difficult to come up with about $40 to $50 million.
To do what?
To balance the budget.
Okay.
Unless we're really innovative, and I take my hat off to our people if they're able to come up with that kind of money in a short space of time. I'm telling you, we have $25 million loan that we need to know what happened to it, whether it was spent, not spent, etc. That can help. That $25 million could help, but I don't see it being enough.
Okay. Let us give the Premier and his team
the benefit of the doubt.
And they will come up with ways and means by which.
And come to us and tell us. We can do arithmetic. We could add zeros. It's not uncommon for us to stick on a couple. 6 more zeros is, that's $1 million.
That's $1 million. Okay.
Yeah. So let's go. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we had a wonderful show. We were able to touch on a number of topics. We talked a bit about the traffic in the territory. I am hopeful that one of these days we would jump to the cars and have timely traffic reports as to the various areas where traffic is challenging and the time delay, that type of thing.
I don't know if you are aware of it, but with the rains we're having now, there are periodic landslides, and for some strange reason these things are allowed to interfere with traffic because nobody's cleaning them on a regular basis.
I must correct you on one thing though. I saw 2 in my area and they were cleaned the same day.
Well,
within hours
well,
they were clean.
On the same road from East End,
yeah,
there are slides, and
there was one on the Ridge Road that was cleaned within hours, and there was one on Long Trench where a huge boulder came down.
Oh, the huge boulder.
Yeah, and
the operative word is huge.
It was a huge boulder, and it was cleaned within that same morning. So but the territory. You could imagine from Anegada to Joshua Neck.
Yes, but Richard,
right? Yeah,
we're not that big. Where backhoe.
We're having challenging times, John.
Backhoe at Public Works with 2 men will just drive along the road, and if there's an issue, correct it. Because
I think it's even better than that. They have persons on call in the area, in the various districts that they can deploy. So it's not that bad. Anyways, John, we have to make some attempt to wrap up on a number of the things that we were able to touch on. We touched on the traffic. We talked about the Ridge Road situation. We talked about the Slaney Point to Fort Worth and the ongoing work there. We touched a bit on the museum on Main Street, the prison museum, and we talked about some of the challenges that might still exist as it relates to that thing. And by the way, John, there was a situation where some Land Rovers were tied at the entrance of that prison at one time.
Okay.
To prevent persons entering or leaving it. These are all historic events that should be.
But talking about history, we still would like to see some way in which we can seriously look at our public library, public museum, and a public archiving system put in place. If it can't be done next year,
and
at least begin planning for it.
And I like the way you mention it because all 3 of those things are interrelated.
They are related.
They're interrelated, and it would be very good if we could at least put the framework in place.
Yes.
And talk about the budgeting of it, of how it can become a reality.
And this could be a public, private
of course
activity.
It can. Of course it can.
There may be ways by which we can get people who have a lot of money, who live in our community, to contribute to these activities.
Yes.
But we have to find the mechanisms to do it.
Yes. And John, I think one of the things we may have to ask our government to look at as well is the whole idea of private persons contributing to various aspects in government in the form of tax relief. I know this is something that's done in other places where you have a pet peeve where you like art. So you would give me some of your hard-earned money to run an art program under the condition that I would be able to use some of that as tax write-off.
Yes.
Okay? Because I have it like that. Okay? And this is not something uncommon. We don't have that machinery in place in our territory at this point.
We need to seriously look at it.
But we need to look at it because it's actually a way of raising money.
And it's a way of getting the things we have to do done.
Exactly. I think I've heard so many times now that we can't rely on the government to do everything, and which is true. But at the same time, we have to put things in place so that other persons can so to speak, pick up the slack.
Okay.
Monetarily, I'm talking about.
Now, as we close out tonight's program, Richard, I would like us to offer good wishes to everybody who lives in this country for the happy Christmas and the bright and prosperous New Year. And we are hoping that more care and attention is placed on making sure that we don't bring the name of this country into the mud by doing the right, safe things. You young men out there with your motorcycles, please don't be reckless. Don't let us have more unnecessary funerals this year. Just ride safely and courteously. And some of our drivers, slow down. You'll get there eventually. I heard an expression today where one guy said, it's better to be a live chicken than a dead duck. Just because you're doing the wrong things, you're speeding, you're doing things that you ought not to do.
Well, John, I would, you know, give the same message as well, you know, holiday seasons to everyone, you know, Hanukkah,
Kwanzaa,
Christmas, depending on your religious belief. Of course, we are multicultural. We have persons from various religious backgrounds living among us, and I have been preaching. I hope I've been converting a couple of people as well, but I've been preaching that we have to be more
considerate,
and also more how to say it now. We have to accept others.
More accepting.
We have to be more accepting of other person's beliefs and religion. It's written in our Constitution again, and it's not. We can't just have it written. We have to practice it too.
Okay.
We have to be more, you know, more understanding that, you know, we are not. Some of us are not the same. Okay. Some of us are different, and because we're different doesn't mean that we must be discriminated against.
True.
You know, or we shouldn't allow the different ones to discriminate against us as well.
And we hope that the employers who have refused to make their contributions for their employees, there will not be Ebenezer Scrooges and just do the right thing.
Yeah, that's a terrible situation. I don't think it's going to go away easily. The person that called, it reminded me of a situation where I had to get personally involved in a lawsuit.
Well, one option is refuse to renew your trade license next year until you pay up.
You're speaking as the government, but I was speaking as the employee. I was saying, when you find yourself in a situation like that, litigation is one of the worst things. The case I'm telling you about lasted for more than 6 years, and it was very expensive. One thing about litigation, it is expensive and it lasts long. So that's the worst scenario to take. Any other scenario that any other avenue that's available, I would suggest that it take
it. Mediation, arbitration.
Mediation, arbitration, all of those other things are, you know, things that should be on the table. But at the same time, I feel the pain of the person that was speaking, because it's a difficult situation. Very difficult. You can't have private insurance, right?
You can. It's
wait. Hear me. You can't have private insurance as your main insurance. It could be supplemental, okay?
Yeah.
But it can't be your main insurance, okay? Because if you have it as your main insurance, from the time you present yourself, they're going to ask you.
Okay.
And that's where the situation is. So you know, it's a very difficult situation. And like I was saying to you earlier, though, it is not only the NHI; it's also the Social Security. So it's like, you know, if the person isn't paying one,
he's not going to pay
more than likely he's not paying the other one as well. So you know, so you have some dire situations that need rectifying.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for having us in your homes tonight, and we hope to see you next year after a short break, short hiatus, and do enjoy your holiday season.
And as I usually say, God bless these Virgin Islands, and we'll see you again next year.